What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we pick up the Frankenstein story, and we keep going with that universal monster with the final performance of the monster by Mr. Boris Karloff. in 1939's Son of Frankenstein, starring Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Lionel Atwill, Josephine Hutchinson, and Donnie Dunnigan. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today we're going to keep going with the Frankenstein story, and we're going to take a look at 1939's Son of Frankenstein. And this one, like I said, is the last one to feature Boris Karloff as the monster, and it's also the one that introduced one of the iconic characters to the Frankenstein lore, the character of Igor, although spelled in the film as Y-G-O-R, but more commonly spelled as I-G-O-R. Now, our movie opens with the Baron Wolf von Frankenstein, who is the son of Henry Frankenstein, who has made the decision to relocate his family to the family castle, his wife Elsa, and their young son, Peter. Now, right here, we're going to go ahead and stop for a quick second, because that just tells you that this film has to take place 25 or so years after The Bride of Frankenstein. Because in The Bride of Frankenstein, he's barely getting married to Elizabeth, Henry is. So there are no kids. So this film has to be about 25, maybe even 30 years after The Bride of Frankenstein. Now, Wolf has a desire. He wants to redeem his father's reputation. But he discovers that this is going to be a lot harder than he originally planned after he encounters several of the villagers who just have all this hostility and anger towards him and resent him for the destruction that Henry's monster wreaked all those years ago. Wolf's only other friend in the village is the local police inspector, Crow, who has an artificial arm after losing his arm in a childhood encounter with the monster. One day, while investigating his father's castle, Wolf meets Igor, a demented blacksmith who survived being hung for grave robbing, and as a result has a deformed, broken neck. Wolf finds the monster comatose in the crypt where his grandfather and his father were buried. His father's sarcophagus bears the phrase, Heinrich von Frankenstein, maker of monsters, written in chalk. Wolf decides to revive the monster in order to prove that his father was correct and to restore honor to the family. So Wolf uses a torch to scratch out the word monsters on the casket and write the word men beneath it. The monster is revived, but it only responds to Igor's commands and commits a series of murders, the victims of which were the jurors at Igor's trial, the men responsible for his hanging. When Wolf discovers this and confronts Igor, he shoots and apparently kills Igor. As a result, the monster abducts Wolf's son, Peter, as revenge. But the monster cannot bring himself to kill the child. Inspector Crow and Wolf pursue the monster to a nearby laboratory, where during a struggle, the monster tears Crow's false arm out of the body. Wolf then swings on a rope and knocks the monster into a pit of molten sulfur beneath the laboratory, thereby saving his son. And as our movie comes to its end, Wolf leaves the keys to the Frankenstein castle to the villagers, who turn out to cheer the Frankenstein family on as they leave the town by train. This film definitely started to signal the end for the upper echelon, if you will, of the Frankenstein films. It was the last one to feature Karloff, as I've mentioned a couple times. And you can really start to see through the film the regression of the monster. Where in the first film, he was created and he was very much like a child, a toddler, and he was learning things. And he didn't really understand why the flowers floated, but little Maria didn't. And then the evolution into the Bride of Frankenstein and meeting the blind hermit and learning good food, all those type of words, and the monster beginning to speak, you live, you go, you stay, we belong dead. And then back to Son of Frankenstein, and he's back to just grunts and groans. And it very much turned Karloff off, which is part of the reason why he didn't come back for further sequels in the franchise. And it's a sad statement, because I loved where the arc was going and the evolution of the monster. But to just have that regression to where he just goes back to kind of kills it. As far as the first three, the Karloff trilogy, if you will, this is definitely the weakest. I did like the fact that the monster, probably remembering having killed Maria in the first film, could not bring himself to kill Peter. I did like that, and I love the addition of Igor. Bela Lugosi as Igor definitely steals the movie, and he'll come back in the next sequel as Igor when we get to Ghost of Frankenstein in a few days. But as far as the Karloff trilogy, this is definitely the weakest installment of the three. And it's nothing against Lionel Atwell. It's nothing against Boris Karloff. It's nothing against Bela Lugosi. It all has to do with Universal Studios and the script writers and making the monster go back more to being a monster instead of this evolving creature. And it's a damn shame. When it comes to my rating for The Son of Frankenstein, and I'm going to be really curious to see what you guys think. I do enjoy it, although it's definitely not a 5-star film as the original and The Bride is. I do give Son of Frankenstein 3.5 out of 5. I have to knock it down quite a bit because it is, as I've stated a couple times, the weakest of the Karloff part of the franchise. But there was so much potential coming off the heels of The Bride to progress this story. Even though there's only about 4 years difference in production, like I said, we're jumping ahead in the story about 25 to 30 years. There's a lot of room there for evolution of the monster and what he knows and what he can do. And it just seems like they regressed him. 3.5 out of 5 stars to me. I'm curious to see what the viewers at home that have seen this film, think about it. I know my dad is watching. He's been tuning in to every one of the Universal Monster films that I've been reviewing. Shout out to you, Pop, for tuning in and supporting me. I really appreciate the fact that you've been watching all these. But my other viewers, what do you think of The Son of Frankenstein? If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching later in the day on demand, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Whatever you do, though, when you get out there on social media, let's try to get those hashtags trending. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag Statboy Approved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, where we pick up the Mummy story after 1932's The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff, and we take a look at the first sequel in that franchise, The Mummy's Hand, starring Dick Foran, Peggy Moran, Wallace Ford, Cecil Kellaway, Eduardo Cianelli, George Zucco, and Tom Tyler in the role of the Mummy. You're not going to want to miss out on that one tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, right back here on an all-new Renegades Reviews, when we keep on moving with the Mummy story. To all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in for the premiere, leaving your thoughts and comments over here, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Likewise, all my family, friends, viewers out there tuning in for the replays later in the day, leaving your comments and down here, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of my fans out there and my loyal viewers that tune in on a regular basis. Show me that love, show me that support, going back to the archives, digging up the old episodes of Renegade Wrestling, Dads on Wrestling, After the Bell with Jeff Meacham, Stat Boys Rants, the old audio format version of Renegades Reviews from the first run. Anything out there to help boost up my viewership hours so I can eventually get monetized, try to make some money on this. Thank you to each and every one of you out there that does that for me. Thank you to all of you for tuning in and joining me today, and I will see you guys next time.